Hello everyone, my name is Marjorie and welcome to my channel. Today I'm participating in this Fun Time Friday and it's hosted by Tiff from Broke Girl Aesthetic, and her co-host today is Sarah from Can Sarah DIY It. Please look in the description box for the link to the playlist and be sure to check everybody out. For my first DIY today, I am going to be making a year-round wreath. I've got Chanel stems and this Dollar Tree wreath frame at 14 inches, that hello sign from Dollar Tree. I've got various ribbons from Michaels and Craft Outlet, this beautiful Deco Mesh from Craft Outlet as well, and I will be using a few zip ties to help hold the ends of the 21-inch Deco Mesh down. So to begin, I take a section, which you'll see these are the crossbars that I'm pointing at, and in between is a section. So the first two inner rings I'm going to place one Chanel stem, and then on the bottom two outer rings I will place two Chanel stems. So there's a total of 6 sections, each section getting 3 Chanel stems, so you'll need a total of 18 Chanel stems. Now when you put the Chanel stems on there, you want to put it on tightly, but not too tight that where you're kind of deforming the rings. If you put it too tight, it'll push them close together, and you don't really need that. You don't need to tack it down with any glue or anything like that either, because once you have all your Deco Mesh in place, everything will be perfect. So I'm just taking a couple of Chanel stems and using my heavy duty stapler and stapling the Chanel stems on the side. Here I'm just being a little OCD, trying to get it even on both sides, that where the lengths of the Chanel stems are the same. And I just give each of them a couple of good staples just to make sure it's nice and secure. Once that's done, I'll start on the base of the wreath. This is my 21-inch Deco Mesh in white. This was from Craft Outlet. And all you want to do here is take some of the mesh out, make sure the ends are kind of folded in a little bit, and then walk your fingers together to gather a little bunch at the end. This is the portion of your Deco Mesh that you will attach to your crossbar on your frame with your zip tie. You don't have to use a zip tie, but I like to use it because it's nice and secure and I don't have to worry about it. So once I've got it zip tied on there pretty well, then make sure you use the flat head of your wire cutters and cut that off against the place that it attaches to. That way you won't have much of it sticking out after you've cut it off. And then I do trim off the excess of the Deco Mesh. You don't have to do that, but I do it. So I take that zip tie and I zero it out, and then I measure out 10 inches just like I'm doing here, and that creates a 10-inch poof, and I just put that in the closest Chanel stem next to me. Now here I'm just kind of fluffing out the Deco Mesh. You can do it as you go or afterwards, it doesn't matter. So here I'm showing you I've got them all around the bottom, and I have to go up to the top. So your bottom portion, the outer portion, excuse me, is going to have 12 Chanel stems. The inner portion is going to have 6. So here I was just showing you how I went from the last Chanel stem on the bottom or in the outer perimeter and measured out 10 inches and stuck it to the next Chanel stem on the right. And then again I just go around doing 10-inch poofs. So once I've got all of that nice and full, every Chanel stem has a poof in it, then I do the same technique as I did at the beginning, where I just take the end portion of the Deco Mesh and I zip tie it to the crossbar, and then I'll cut off the little tail for the zip tie, and then I cut off the excess of the Deco Mesh. And then you definitely want to just make sure you poof everything out before you start layering on your second layer of Deco Mesh, if you haven't already done so. So from here, this is a beautiful Deco Mesh called basket weaving. I'm trying to show you that it's 10 yards and 10 inches. And it's so pretty. And I got this from Craft Outlet as well. It's black and white. So what I'm going to do is cut these at 20-inch pieces. And the reason I'm doing that is because I want to use this one roll, and that's it. So you have a total of 360 LIs, because there's 10 yards and each yard is 3 feet, so you have 360 LIs, and I divide that by the 18 chenille stems, which gives you 20. So that is the length of each one of these cuts that you make. So here all I do is kind of do a curl. This is the cruffle method, where you curl it in on the sides a couple of times and then walk your fingers together to make the ruffle portion. Make sure you're putting it into your chenille stem, and that you're basically have it the sides even. You don't have the one of the sides sticking up higher than the other. So here I have, this ribbon is actually from Michael's. I got it after clearance for like $3 or something. Anyways, I'm cutting my tails at 14 inches, and I was actually showing you that you could cut it with your scissors, or you can cut it with your rotary cutter. Either way, it's up to you. So again, I'm taking my other ribbon, this one I got from Craft Outlet, and I cut that at 14 inches as well. Now, I'm only doing 2 different ribbon colors for my tails. You definitely can use multiples. So what some of them do is use 4 different ribbons, ribbon colors for their tails, and they'll match two of one colors together and the other 2 colors together and alternate them, but I'm not doing that in this one. So I finished cutting my ducktails, and then what I plan to do here, and see how pretty that wreath is. It's all nice and full with just the Deco Mesh. So pretty. And then what I do is I just fold my tail in half and find the midpoint, scrunch it together, bend it to where both of the tails are facing me, and I also like to give it a little curl. Now, because I'm selling this wreath, I'm actually going to cut the chenille stems down and hide it, because I'm not going to need it again. But if this was a wreath that I was keeping, I would definitely make sure that I don't cut the chenille stems off. That way, if I want, I can disassemble this wreath, whether it's just the ribbons or whatever, or the entire wreath, and use the frame and the chenille stems again. I do like to recycle where I can to make it more affordable. Now I will say the 2 most expensive things in making wreaths, in my opinion, is definitely your ribbon. Your ribbon can actually be like the most expensive items on your wreath, but you definitely can go to different places and try to find stuff that's on clearance. And Craft Outlets are a really good place. They always have stuff on clearance, anywhere from 10%, 25%, all the way up to 40%. And I absolutely love their material, the ribbon and the Deco Mesh. They sell really great quality products. So once I had attached my tails on, I'm just taking my hello sign, and I attached it to my wreath. Now I did want to leave the hello sign plain, because I knew I wanted to use that pretty burlap ribbon, and so I wanted the sign to kind of help bring out that burlap in the pretty ribbon. So here I'm using my Easy Bow Maker. I started using this more and more because I have arthritis, and it makes bow making really easy. You're not having to do a lot of pinching by holding your ribbon down and stuff like that. You've actually got the tool that's holding it in place for you, so that helps out a lot. But what I like to do is I started out with the burlap ribbon, and it had 14-inch tails. Then I had 6-inch loops, and then I cut the other tail at 8 inches. And so that's all I'm doing, is alternating. Here I am doing the 6-inch loops, and then I'll cut another 8-inch at the top. And with ribbons, you can use, with the bows, I like to use additional ribbon that I didn't necessarily use in the tails, and it gives it a little bit of extra flair. But you can use all sizes, 2.5 to 1.5. I typically won't go any lower than 1.5. I've seen people make bows with 4.5-inch wired ribbon. That's personally not my thing, but you definitely could do that. I think the biggest that I like to actually go on a ribbon is the 2.5-inch, but definitely just play with it, find out what you like, and just go from there. Now, what I like to do is try to use up all of the ribbon that I used for my tails. I don't really like to have extra rolls of spools of extra ribbon and stuff laying around. I don't like the clutter. I've got enough junk in my craft room that I like to just utilize everything that I can, and if I can use up the roll, then great. But yeah, use as many layers as you want for your ribbon. And see here, I got to the last end of this ribbon, and I just knew I needed to use it. One, because I love it, and there was still a pretty good amount left. So as you see here, I just did one loop. You can definitely do 1 loop, 2 loops, 3 loops, however many loops you want. You can make your bow entirely of one ribbon with 8 to 10 loops. Again, just play around with it, but I will say, if you're gonna do a lot of playing around and cutting ribbon, you're not necessarily going to use it on a project. Just as practice, then definitely get you some of the Dollar Tree ribbon. That way you're not spending too much money on stuff that you may be messing up on and throwing away anyways. So once I've got all the loops and tails, I just take my chenille stem and I twist it on there pretty tight. You want to make sure everything's in there tight. Now you can either do this part where you're kind of fluffing everything out, or dovetailing your tails. You can either do it before you put it on your wreath or after you put it on your wreath. If I think about it, I try to at least trim the dovetails before I put it on the wreath, because sometimes if I'm cutting it, I don't necessarily see it when it drops into the wreath, the little trash portion. So I like to try to do it here, but I will say, for you to be able to actually fluff out your wreath, then the best method is to actually put it on your wreath and then fluff it out. It makes it a whole lot easier, at least in my opinion. Some people have what's called a fluff box. It's just a wooden box with like a nail or something that sticks out of it, and you kind of wrap the chenille stem that's holding your bow together, you wrap it around that so you can use that to fluff it. But in my opinion, bypass that. No need to waste your time and effort on that when you can just do it on the wreath. So fluffing the bow is one of my favorite parts, because once I get it on the wreath and I just see how beautiful it looks, I mean, I just love it. Now definitely with your short tails, you want to kind of curve it around your fingers like you see me doing with some of these. And that's because when you give that shorter tail, that curve look to it, it kind of gives it an extra full layer of fullness. Now I do try to give a little curl also with the long ones, but I don't give it as much of a curl as with the short tails. I do see some other people that like to actually take the long tails and make it a little extra long and then kind of curl it up a little bit, and you can do that as well. It's just as pretty, but definitely fluffing can take some extra time to make sure everything's nice and beautiful, but it's definitely worth it. So here I am about to put this bow onto my wreath to make it have the finishing touch. But one thing to remember when you're putting your signs on and when you're putting your bows on, you want to make sure you've got it on there nice and firm, but you don't want it too tight to where it's pulling into the mesh. You want them sitting just right, and it's one of those things you'll just have to get used to it. So don't be scared. Try one of these wreaths out, and you will be amazed at what you can do. I just think this is absolutely beautiful. A little farmhousey, and I love the colors. This can be year round. So for my bonus DIY, I was trying to show you how to create one of these. This is my special thank you cards. I actually created this on Canva. I tried to record it my phone. I was doing the steps on my phone and tried to record it, but it just didn't turn out right, so I took that portion of the video out. But you can actually make your own cards and just personalize it for you and make it real nice and pretty. Now I just did this on regular paper, but you definitely want to use a thicker cardstock paper when you're doing this. When you can resize them however much you want. You can put on whatever information. If you have an email address you want them to have, then you can put that on there too. So my plan is to take some cards, some scrapbooking paper, any kind. And this is one of the great things, is because you can use the same picture but a variety of background cardstocks to make it different a little bit. And anyways, so what I end up doing is I cut it to size the way I want it, and then I just get a glue stick and I glue that picture right on top, and it turns out great. I made one of these, and I started making these instead of buying the thank you cards and just handwriting it out. I just thought this was just a nice personal touch to it. So I hope you like this video. Please like, subscribe, and comment below, and you guys have a great day.